And good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Colleen Doherty. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a program coordinator with the Center for Research and Fellowships, and I'm so happy that you have all joined us today. Today's session, as I said before, on cultivating and developing faculty relationships, as well as in selecting recommenders, will be recorded. We are recording this, and the recording will be available via our listservs. If you have any questions, again, feel free to put them in the chat or answer or raise your hand, and we'll go ahead and get started. So a little bit about us. Of course, we are the Center for Research and Fellowships. When we are on campus and campus is open, our offices are located at 3607 O Street Northwest. So we're just outside the main gate, down the street. We're sort of between the main gate and Saxby's. So when we're on campus and the office is open, feel free to swing by whenever, grab a coffee at Saxby's, swing into the office, ask, drop in if you have questions or you just want a nice quiet space to relax and get some work done. Especially if you're working on fellowship applications, we have a great space to work on that. And then we're right there and available. When it comes to this particular session, as I said, it is going to be relevant for both our research opportunities as well as our fellowship opportunities. And so just to kind of get you all into a little bit of a mindset of what that means and our philosophy as an office, we always love to share that. And really when it comes to all of our opportunities and applications, our philosophy and focus as a staff is helping you all to really think deeply about these opportunities, especially when it comes to our research opportunities and any of the fellowship opportunities that are providing you an opportunity for like funding to do research or funding for graduate studies. Anything that's going to allow you an opportunity to really dive into some like really complex issues or topics. We want to make sure that we're providing a space and processes and programs that are allowing you to engage in that way. So we're really focused on what are the opportunities that can help you explore new ideas, explore new topics, build new knowledge for both yourself as well as our greater Georgetown community, and as well as for the fields that you are exploring, hopefully. Our philosophy around all of those is that we want to help you to really drive your passions, drive your talents, and explore those areas of interest in a way that helps you to really strengthen your abilities, both in the classroom, academically, in the lab, doing research, as well as outside of those areas, right? Even as well as outside of sort of the realm of academia, because we recognize that for some folks, you are going to graduate, maybe go to grad school, maybe go get a job, maybe do grad school later if you're going to do grad school. And then you're going to be in spaces with other folks. You're going to be acting as leaders in your field, in your area, on your teams, whether that's in smaller spaces, larger spaces. But regardless, you're always going to be refining the way that you are approaching these issues, approaching these topics. And so, again, our philosophy is helping you to define those strengths, work on those skills. And when it comes to all of these application processes and projects and programs, these are just as much of an opportunity for learning for you as the end result is. Obviously, you will be doing lots of learning when you take on these research opportunities, or when you're doing research, or when you received a fellowship and gone on to grad school, or gone and are undertaking the project that is being funded by that fellowship. But you're doing just as much learning in this process as you are when you get to the end. So that is why we do a little what we do. Our goal as an office is to help you learn as much about yourself through the process as you will at the end. So right now, obviously with campus being sort of half closed, I know some folks are on campus right now, but classes are virtual. We're doing, right now we're just doing advising on via Zoom. But again, when campus is more open, we are in the office and we'll do advising opportunities in person if you are comfortable with that. If you're not, we're also happy doing Zoom advising. But what we do are advising on all of these opportunities, helping to raise awareness about these opportunities, and helping you to develop those skills, right? So providing workshops like this one, providing workshops on the various fellowship opportunities so that you know what they are, what is expected of you when you are applying, and through the entire application process, not just, the online application, but if there are interviews involved, how to interview for a fellowship versus interviewing for, say, a job or some other type of opportunity, because the skill sets are just slightly different. Writing resumes for fellowships versus writing resumes for other types of opportunities or applications. Networking opportunities, so how to network when it comes to, or how to use your networking skills to gain access to some of these opportunities. As well as to utilize those opportunities to your best ability and efforts. So again, these just a little bit of what we do. And of course, you can find all of our workshops, opportunities, webinars, the various opportunities that we advise on our website, crf.georgetown.edu. And for any of those opportunities that are open to alumni, we advise you as well. So if you're a senior and you're graduating in May and you know that you're applying next year for a fellowship that is open to alumni or recent graduates, reach out to us. We are happy and welcome and excited to advise you on those opportunities as well. You do not have to be a current Georgetown student as long as to take advantage of our services, so long as you fit the criteria of that fellowship. So to actually dive into today's topic, to get us started thinking a little bit about faculty mentorships and faculty serving as recommenders, and recommenders more generally. Faculty mentors and mentorship is really that more broader relationship that you build with individuals, whether they're faculty or staff on campus, that provide you an opportunity to continue your personal and professional development. This can be anything from like your academic development. This is especially where faculty members come in, working on support for courses and understanding the course materials, helping to guide you in research and research opportunities, helping to advise you on your career trajectory. So, especially if you know that you have an interest in a particular field, but you're not really sure how to apply your skills to that field, faculty and staff in that field, if there are staff members on campus, can really help you to sort of shape that career trajectory, and also how to accomplish those goals, opportunities for co-curricular involvement. So, even if it's not an opportunity for research, but maybe it's an opportunity to volunteer in a particular field or area, as well as to develop your network, right? So when we're thinking about faculty or sometimes staff serving as mentors, they're really hitting sort of all of these avenues to help you to further your goals. When it comes to recommenders, faculty and staff can also serve as recommenders, and that's sort of one subset of this mentorship and mentoring relationship. And so when it comes to serving as a recommender, these are folks that are either writing letters of recommendation or serving as a recommender in other capacities, sometimes like, especially if it's for a job application, but maybe also for some research opportunities or some fellowships even, they may call or email, have a conversation with in real time with an individual who is serving as a recommender for you, but most often they are writing a letter. And this recommendation really serves as a confirmation of your past experiences with this person, your expertise, or your ability based on that person's knowledge of you and your work. So if they are someone that you have served as a research assistant with before, they may be writing a letter for you based on your professional relationship. If it's a person or faculty member who has who you've only had as a professor, and so you've had had them in class before, maybe you've got to office hours a number of times, but they're maybe more speaking to your academic abilities. Regardless of why you've asked this person to be a recommender, they are someone that really corroborates your narrative and speaks to your credentials and your accomplishments and your ability to fit whatever guidelines or what you're fitting the fellowship or opportunity that you're applying for. Excuse me. And we have our first question. So the question is, do faculty recommenders have to be experts within the discipline of your research topic? And so this is a little bit more related to research opportunities. So that's going to depend on the program you're applying for and why they are serving as a recommender. So if they are someone who is that you're asking for a recommendation from for a research opportunity, you want that person, your recommender, to be able to speak to your abilities in the field that you're applying for, right? So say you are applying for the lead law program, perhaps, or one of our summer research opportunities, and you're applying with a research plan and project in mind. You want that faculty recommender to be able to speak to your abilities in that field. And so they don't necessarily need to be an expert. Do they need to be a world-renowned person within that field? No, but they do need to be able to speak to your abilities to do research, especially as it relates to that topic. You don't necessarily want to ask your English Lit professor to serve as a recommender for a research project if you are in neurobio, right? If you're a neurobiology major, you don't want to necessarily ask your English Lit professor for a recommendation. Now it depends on what the recommendation is. If it's a recommendation based on based on past experience, like working with them in a very specific way, maybe that person could fit. But if if you're applying for a research opportunity with a specific topic in mind, you want to make sure that the person that you're asking recommendations for has closer ties to your topic area, because they can speak much more specifically to your abilities and expertise in that area. Any other questions so far? Okay. So some common barriers to building those faculty relationships. So being unsure what to say. What areas of interest, like what your interest areas are. You've declared your major, and you're trying to build your networks on campus. What do I say? What do I even say when I'm reaching out to a professor to start to build those networks? You're not sure how to connect. Where do you even start? Who do I connect with? Who do I ask? Who do I reach out to? Unsure how to contact them. So like, how do I reach out? What's appropriate? Is it an email? Do I just drop by office hours? Do I call them? Do I use a carrier pigeon? My attempts at levity at 10 a.m. with very little coffee. Unsure how to keep up the relationship. Okay, so I know them, right? We've met, maybe I've had class with them, but like, how do I continue that relationship from here? All fair, all common. We've all hit those. No one comes out of grad or out of undergrad like knowing exactly how to like form these relationships, or even like coming into undergrad knowing how to form these relationships. That's okay. And so we're going to kind of cover all of those through each of these 5 steps. So step 1, identify them. Who am I even reaching out to? So finding the faculty members that you're interested in working with, or building relationships with, or cultivating different types of working relationships with, right? Because you may have one type of working relationship with one faculty member, and other types of relationships with other faculty members. Step 2, approaching them, just reaching out.
Excuse me, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So for example, I'm a freshman, and last semester I've taken like a general business class, and I think the teacher know me well, so he can talk about my ability to do like research and like to learn. But my specific research area, like the thing I want to research on, is not particularly like his expertise field. Like he's a finance professor, but I want to do something with management. So like, do you recommend me like reach out to my new management professor this semester, or like reach out to the professor that I know?
Yeah, so that's going to depend, and we'll actually kind of discuss that as we go through, but it's going to depend a little bit on what reason you're reaching out to them. So if it's for a recommendation, they could be a really good recommender, right? Because it's closer related to your field. They may not be specific, like, right, their expertise is not specifically about the thing that you are interested in, but it is a much more closely related topic than, again, English Lit. I don't know why you're bashing on English Lit. I
got it.
But you get what I'm saying. So yeah, it's closer related, and if it's someone that you've had recently and they can speak to your abilities, that should be fine. If you're, yeah, like we'd have to kind of like discuss a little bit more in detail than I think we have time for today. But absolutely make an appointment, an advising appointment, either myself or Lauren Tuckley, our director, to kind of discuss like specific opportunities. But as far as things go, like that's a pretty good person to ask.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So step 2, approach. So like the formal reaching out, introducing yourself, and kind of like making the ask of, whatever it is that you're asking about, right? So that's step 2. Step 3, following up. So, confirming details and logistics of meeting to like actually discuss, the things that you want to discuss with the faculty member specifically. Step 4, follow through, right? So we've identified them, we've approached them, we've had a meeting, now what, right? So following through, continuing the relationship, and like really securing the connection with that person. And then step 5, apply. So whether you're applying for a research opportunity, fellowship opportunity, grad school, jobs, like whatever it is, if you are asking them, and I've said apply in this moment because this is related to a number of application processes that we have current, ongoing, or upcoming. But step 5 can also be any other number of things. Step 5 can also be continue relationship, right? Like continue to follow up, or any number of things that will help you to continue that relationship with this person. But for today's purposes, we're going to talk about applications and applying for things. So step 1, identify. So the first and easiest and most obvious thing to do is make a list, right? Make a list of the faculty members that you have a connection to. Who are you, like who have you had classes with, either currently or in the past, that are in your interest area, looking at the department or school directory for faculty members who you may want to reach out to, especially if you know that there are faculty members who are currently on sabbatical. You may not be able to reach out to them right now, but you may be able to in the future, so you can kind of put them on your list moving forward. Also looking into your interest areas or research areas, or their research areas as well. So even if they are not currently serving as a faculty member in your department or your school, they may be working in a research lab or in a department on campus that is in a co-curricular function, or in some other way related to the university. So, here at Georgetown, we obviously have the hospital, we have the law school, we have a number of other institutes that are policy or research related. So looking not just at your department or your school, but also looking a little bit more broadly within the current community, and also looking outside of Georgetown. DC and the greater DMV area we have tons of colleges here that also have and specialize in a number of areas that Georgetown does. And so reaching out to other faculty members at other institutions as well, to build those connections too. You're not just limited to folks here at Georgetown. Obviously they're easier because they're right here, they're right on campus, they're right down the street. But don't limit yourself to just Georgetown faculty. Also reach out to faculty at other institutions and universities as well. So thinking outside the classroom, looking at upcoming lectures and events on campus, to both meet faculty members outside of your current courses or your major, but again, outside of also the university as well. Looking at interdisciplinary research opportunities and how your studies may overlap. So thinking of the ways that your studies may overlap with this faculty member. Using your network, so talking to your friends and classmates, maybe especially within your major or your school, because they may have had a faculty member that you haven't had before, so they can kind of give you an idea of how amenable that person is to being to creating and cultivating those relationships with students. They'll also help you to know like whether or not that faculty member has a lot going on right now. So like if they're doing a lot of research or like what their current research is, reaching out to folks in that way and kind of getting that information as well. And if you know someone that's currently or has previously done research, learning from them what the process was like to reach out to faculty members, because they may have really good tips for you, especially when it comes to reaching out to specific faculty members. Okay, so who do you ask, right? And this is specifically around recommenders and recommendations, but can also apply to other sort of relationships as well. When selecting a faculty or staff member or another individual that you have a relationship with to serve as a recommender, you want to make sure that you're asking someone who knows you really well, who can really provide good insight, enthusiastic details, relevant insight into your past abilities or into your abilities or past work, and can really collectively highlight your abilities and your accomplishments. So thinking about someone who knows you well enough that can speak to you in a well-rounded way, and so that the readers on a application panel or selection committee can see that you're a multifaceted person. When you're building your network, the field becomes a little bit broad, or when you're thinking about who do you ask when you're building your network, that's where things become a little bit broader. That's what we were just talking about. But regardless, you want to consider faculty who you look up to and you wish to emulate, right? So when you're selecting those individuals, who are individuals whose work that you admire? Who do you want to continue to learn from? Who are folks that you want to even just start learning from? Who are the people that you feel can help you to continue your own development, whether that's professionally, academically, or other areas related to your co-curricular or curricular development. When thinking about recommendations specifically though, we want to avoid asking peers and family friends. They are often not good recommenders because they can be biased. And if that comes to the attention of the review committee after the fact, it can look very poorly on you. And so when selecting recommenders, you want to select folks that can speak to your abilities in an academic or professional environment. You don't want to necessarily like ask your friend or your roommate. So, questions so far? Okay. Oh. Okay. So, the approach. So you always want to do a little bit of preliminary research, and this is especially where, asking folks that have already worked with these faculty members before or staff members before can come in handy. But you want to make sure that you have their up-to-date contact information. Obviously, the department or faculty website will have that information available. You also want to know that, what their most recent research areas or topics are. Obviously you'll have a good idea of their academic focus if there's someone that's in your department. But if you're not sure, especially if this is someone outside of your department or outside of your university, reaching out, looking at their websites, Google is your friend here, and kind of seeing what are their topic areas and focus areas. Look at course listings that they're teaching, past syllabi. So you can also kind of get some talking points that you will then clarify before reaching out to meet with them. And so making sure also that you have a very clear and concise list of those talking points or your goals. So what are you hoping to gain from this interaction? What are you hoping to gain from the meeting? Are you looking for advice on your goals? Are you looking for feedback on an assignment? Are you looking for a recommender for a program? Are you looking to apply for research opportunities or become a research assistant? So make sure that you know and you have a goal for this meeting, whatever that goal may be. And then you just email them, and we'll talk about what that looks like in just a second. So once you kind of have your talking points, you know who you're reaching out to, draft a short, succinct email requesting to meet. When it comes to email etiquette, you always want to use honorifics when making instructions or you're first reaching out. Unless this is someone who you have taken in class before, you've gone to office hours, you have at least a basis of a relationship built out already, and you know that you are already on a first name basis with this person, do not assume first name or casual names are okay, because you're showing respect for the work that they have done to get to their position, for their expertise in their fields. After the initial email, if they say, call me, whatever, call me Colleen, that's fine, but you always want to defer first with an honorific. If you're not sure what, if they are, or if they have a PhD or an MD or another doctorate, professor is usually a safe bet, especially if they are just a faculty instructor or researcher. Any faculty with a doctorate, whether it's a PhD, an MD, an EDD, always use doctor before their last name. If you're really not sure, or that they don't have one, and that they're not a professor maybe, you can, and that they identify as, or that they are women, or use female pronouns. Ms. is usually fine. Do not assume that a female person or a person that uses feminine pronouns is married. They very well may not be. Even if they are, they may not use Mrs. as their honorific. So just Ms. is the safe bet. Mr. for someone who is male, a typical gender neutral honorific, if you know that this is a person that uses gender neutral pronouns, mix, MX with a period, is often used, again, if you're not sure, you want to err on the side of caution, professor, if they're a faculty member, is the safest bet. So email content, making sure to always use a brief and informative subject title. So in that subject line, making sure that you are succinct and to the point about why you are reaching out. Do not reach out without a subject line, because they're either going to think it's spam, or they're not going to realize what it is or if it's important. And so it's either going to go to the bottom of their inbox, it's not going to take priority. Or they may even, I know I've had lots of folks in the past tell me that they will just put it in spam or put it in their trash. So always making sure to put a subject line in your email. Again, always using a formal greeting as well when you're opening your email or in the opening of your email. Introducing yourself and providing a brief context on the intention of your message. So, hello, Professor Smith. My name is Colleen Doherty. I am, kind of explain, your year, your major. And I'm reaching out because I took your English Lit class this semester on, and make sure to provide a subject, right? Or, kind of introduce how you know them or why you know them, or, if you heard them speak at a panel, say that, and that and something memorable from the panel. And, provide the context for why you're reaching out. I'm reaching out because I want to learn more about your subject area. Or I want to, I want to get your thoughts on, grad school, whatever the reason may be. And then include a direct request for their assistance. So if you are reaching out because you're applying for a fellowship, let them know I'm applying for this fellowship and I know that you have, expertise in this area or whatever. I'd like to meet with you to discuss my candidacy for this fellowship and any advice you may have. Is there a time that we can meet? I'm available on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays in the morning, or if you have specific times even, that's even better. If you know that they are, or I should say, if they are a current professor and they have office hours listed, you see that your office hours are listed at these times. Can I come in at 10:30, whatever, on Thursday to discuss this with you? The more direct, the better, because that helps them to easily look at their calendar and be like, yes, let's meet on this day. And if not, and they're interested in if they're not available, but still interested in working with you, they will then counter with another time. You want to provide a specific request because it's a lot easier for both of you to just say, okay, this is a good date and time for both of us, we're going to meet, rather than the back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Well, Fridays are good for me. What time on Fridays? Well, sometimes the afternoons, but maybe the morning. It just gets a lot. And then you're both like, okay, where's that email? I'm like, this email. Being direct helps both of you to just put the time on your calendar and then it's set and you'll kind of go forward with this process. Other email etiquette pieces, always making sure you use full sentences, correct grammar and punctuation, and then signing off with your name and a salutation. Best regards, thank you for your consideration, Colleen. And here is an example. So again, I have on the right-hand side of the slide, the notes from the previous slide, but as we can kind of read through, this is an example of a good letter reaching out with this request. Subject line, questions about trade policy in sub-Saharan Africa. Dear Mr. Apollo, dear Dr. Apollo, my name is Jack Hoya and I am a junior in the college studying government and economics. After taking a course on business and politics in Africa with Professor Johnson, I became very interested in research on regional economic cooperation in sub-Saharan Africa. I'm writing because I'm very interested in the work that you have done on insert topic here. I was particularly intrigued by your journal article, The Political Economy of Trade Policy in West Africa, and your discussion of the strength of regional trade versus other organizations on the continent, or I'm sorry, regional trade in ECOWAS, versus other regional organizations on the continent. I am not familiar, clearly, with trade policy in sub-Saharan Africa, as an aside. Would it be possible to meet with you to further discuss your research and advice for delving deeper into the field? I'm available the following times this coming week. Insert dates and times. If none of those times fit with your schedule, please let me know what works and I can be flexible. Thank you for your time. Looking forward, Jack Hoya. Hits sort of all of those things, right? We've got a formal opening with, if you don't use a colon, that's fine. Most folks are not going to be hung up over a colon versus a comma. Technically in a business letter, you would use a colon versus a comma. It's one of those rules of letter writing that unless you're writing like a policy statement or something that's very official, it's kind of gone to the wayside, right? Like if it's a executive branch, like dear colleague letter, that'll have a colon versus a comma, but like in an email, if you use a comma over a colon, it's fine. Like no one's going to get really hung up on that probably. We then open with an introduction and the context for the message, a direct ask with the request for assistance, and here's my availability. If that doesn't work, I would love, I can be flexible, happy to meet with you. Again, full sentences, correct grammar and punctuation, and a salutation and sign off. Pretty straightforward. I know it can seem kind of daunting, but it's not, I promise. If you're really concerned about it, you can always ask a friend to read it over. Questions? Okay. So following up. So you've sent the email, you've decided on a time. Once you've confirmed your time, put it on your calendar, whether it's your Google Calendar, your Georgetown Google Calendar, your personal Google Calendar, your planner, pen and paper, whatever. Mark it down. Make sure that you have it written down somewhere because you don't want to forget, because it's not a good impression if you ghost them after you've set up this meeting and you have had them set aside their time that they could be using to do something else. It's impolite. You wouldn't do it to a friend. You wouldn't do a family member. You wouldn't do it to another professor. You wouldn't do it to this person either. So mark it down so you don't forget. And triple check that you have all of the information correct in your calendar. When are you meeting? How are you meeting? In person, via Zoom, phone call, the method of the meeting. So if you're meeting in person, that you have their address or the building location and their office location. If you're meeting via Zoom, who has sent the Zoom link out? Was it you? Were you supposed to? Did you? Yes, good. Did they send it? Do you have it? Good. Put it in the description of your calendar notification. Is it a phone call? Make sure you have the phone number written down. Regardless of how, where, when, why, etc., you are meeting, make sure that you check your calendar, or I should say check your email regularly, just in case something pops up at the last minute, because snow happens and COVID happens and, meeting, maybe they got exposed and they have to go do Zoom via whatever, or, life just happens. Their car broke down, their cat ran away, hopefully not, but life happens, right? So should something have come up at the last minute and they need to reschedule, it's good to be checking your email, or having a backup plan in case, right? So again, if their car breaks down and you were going to meet in person, you have a phone number or a Zoom link or whatever. And same thing goes for you. It might happen for you. If you at the last minute cannot make it for any reason, being as prompt as possible in following up prior to the meeting to let them know, I'm so sorry, my car broke down this morning, I have to take it into the shop. Can we reschedule? Or, whatever the case may be. If you're not comfortable sharing why you can't meet with them, I'm so sorry, I had a family emergency, can we reschedule? You do not have to give them all of the details of your life if you don't want to. Just say, I'm so sorry, an emergency came up this morning, can we please reschedule? And you reschedule. So step 4, follow through. So you come to the meeting, you've prepared several topics and talking points for conversation that meet the goals that you have for this meeting. You have done your preliminary research ahead of time. You are able to kind of come with some additional talking points, right, about their topic area, research area of focus, to kind of help fuel the conversation should you need to, and also learn from them, right? Because this is someone that you're meeting with them for a reason. You have this information available. Make sure to arrive or log on early, especially if you are meeting in person. You want to make sure that you find the place that you're supposed to be going, you're not rushing, and you're dressed to impress. You don't necessarily need to wear business clothes, but you want to make sure that you are put together and presentable. Even if you're on Zoom, from here up, as long as you're looking nice and presentable, it's fine. Are you wearing leggings? Maybe. Are you wearing pajama bottoms? Maybe. Who knows? As long as it's on Zoom, here up, you're looking good. And then keeping up with the relationship. So just like any other relationship, mentoring of any kind needs attention. And yes, it is absolutely a two-way street, just like any other relationship. But especially in a mentoring relationship between faculty and students, you want to make sure that you are the one nurturing that relationship just that little bit more, because it will help them remember you, but it will also help you to glean more from the relationship. Sending a personalized follow-up email after that initial meeting as a thank you is always nice. Also, you may have some follow-up questions, noting specific parts of the conversation that made it impact you is always a good rule of thumb. Again, it helps you to remember that conversation and those important aspects just as much as it reminds them. Handwritten notes are a nice touch. Depending on the person, they may appreciate that more. They may appreciate an email more. As you get to know them a little bit better, you'll kind of get an idea of what that is. You do not need to send a handwritten note after every single meeting with them. A follow-up is always nice, whether it's an email or just maybe dropping by office hours. But that is one of the ways that you can keep up the relationship. Drop by office hours to ask a question or say hello. Send a short follow-up email. Maybe even a month later, right? You've met once, you sent the initial email, you maybe had some action items following the meeting. A month later, you follow up, or a couple of weeks later, you follow up. And you want to kind of continue to maintain that connection throughout the semester and onward. Even if it's a, let's grab a coffee, at the Levy Center between classes to chat about whatever. Or I saw that you had this article just come out and I read it and it was really great. And this particular piece, really stood out to me. Can we meet to discuss X? Kind of keep up with this person over the course of the semester. So, and this is where it comes to this person being a part of application processes. If you were asking them to serve as a faculty mentor for a mentored research opportunity, they are going to be playing a larger role than they would if they are a faculty recommender. Which is why you want to make sure you ask someone who is that knows you a little bit more and is more of an expert in their field or research area or focus area. If they are just serving as a recommender, They don't necessarily, as I said before, need to be an expert in that particular area, but an area related to it is fine and is good. Regardless, if you were asking them to serve in any kind of function or fashion in an application, whether it's a grad school application, job application, research application, fellowship application, you want to make sure that you are providing them your materials for that fellowship or application or research application, whatever the application may be, ahead of time. Give them a draft. Even if it's someone that you're not asking to serve in a particular fashion for the application process, this is also an opportunity for you to kind of continue this relationship. Hello, Dr. So-and-so. I am applying for this, this grad school application that you recommended. And I already have, maybe that's not in their particular field, but you want another set of eyes. Would you mind reading my application materials? Or if they are serving as a recommender, you absolutely want to provide your materials to that person so that it can help them form a good letter of recommendation for you. So you want to make sure that you've drafted your application materials according to the instructions of fellowship, the research opportunity, the job, the graduate school program, and you want to share those materials ahead of time with your recommenders or your mentors to receive feedback. So you can then incorporate that feedback and ensure that you have the strongest application possible. Again, if your application or the program requires a faculty mentor for your project, you really want to need to make sure that this person has seen your research plan, not only ahead of time, but the multiple iterations of these drafts so that they know what has been submitted as the final application. Because at some point in the process, the review committee or program committee or program manager will end up following up with that faculty mentor to confirm the project. So if they're serving as a faculty mentor for a mentored research opportunity, you want to make sure that they are informed so that they can then provide that feedback and can stay up to date and then help you and help to support you through the program. Other things to think about when sharing that relevant information, especially if they're serving as a recommender. The description of the program that you're applying to or pursuing and the website address. So if you're applying for a grad program, telling them which grad programs you're applying to, which ones that they are, you would like them to serve as a recommender for. The description of the program and the program's website. If it is a fellowship, which fellowship it's in. Give them a description of the fellowship. And again, the relevant website address so that they can go and continue their own research. The deadline that they need to submit their own materials by. The deadline for recommenders may be different than your deadline. So make sure that they know what the deadline is. If you decide to give them an earlier deadline, that's fine, that's on you, that's okay. Let them know that you're giving them an earlier deadline and why. But making sure that they know what their deadline is. The program selection criteria. Some programs will give that criteria upfront ahead of time before the application's even open. Other programs won't. If you know what the selection criteria is, make sure to tell your recommenders. Your CV, any kind of recommendation that you are asking for from a faculty member or a staff member or someone that you worked with in the past, you always want to provide them an up-to-date CV or resume, whichever one the program is asking for, or application is asking for. Because even if it's someone that you know super, super well, you may not have kept them up to date on every single little thing that you have done since, time immemorial. And so you want to make sure that they have that so that they can kind of speak to other things about you as well, and can kind of show and highlight other aspects of your expertise. Any relevant information about other recommendation writers or other individuals who are part of the process, so that they know that they are writing what they should be writing about, and what the other folks are going to be addressing, and maybe explaining your relationship with those other writers as well. A good example of this is, the Truman applications, fellowship applications. There are some fellowship applications that request specific letters of recommendation on specific topics. And so you may be asking one person to write the academic letter of recommendation, another person to write a leadership recommendation, another person to write a character recommendation. You want to make sure that each recommender knows which topic they should be focusing on. If you are only submitting one letter of recommendation, or the program only asks for one letter of recommendation, make sure that the recommender knows what you want them to be focusing on. Because then you kind of have a little more of a hand in shaping your application. If you don't give them guidelines, they're going to just like write whatever they think is a good idea, which is sometimes fine. But if you have a specific goal in mind for this application, or a focus in mind for your application, you want to make sure that this person is involved in that process. Providing any descriptions of relevant research or projects. So anything that is relevant to the application, anything that is relevant to this person, anything that is relevant to, again, this focus or goal that you have for this application. Again, a draft of the application if you have one. If you don't have a draft ready, that's fine. An outline, a summary, something to kind of give them direction as they're writing their letter. Potential sites for your program, an explanation of interests for each opportunity. Again, giving them that goal, that theme, that direction that they want to be focusing on. Instructions, clear instructions. So if the program or fellowship or anything that whatever you're applying for has specific instructions, that your recommender has it. Where are they sending the letter? How are they formatting the letter? Do they need to include a letterhead? Do they need to have an electronic signature? What are the requirements for this letter of recommendation that need to be included? And then contact info for yourself. Ideally, they'll already have it, but what is your contact info? Especially if you are graduating or have graduated, they may have your Georgetown email address, but they may not have your personal email address or your phone number. So making sure that they have up-to-date contact information for you at all times is going to be important if this is a relationship that you want to continue to have past your undergraduate career. As well as the contact information for the application administrator. Again, if it's a fellowship, who is a fellowship administrator? Most of the time it's going to be a staff member in our office. If it's not, it might be a staff member in the fellowship foundation, whoever runs this fellowship, their office. If it's a grad school application, who is the administrator on the grad school applications? Most of the time it's going to be a staff member within that program's office at that institution or university. Regardless, if they have the relevant contact information for you and whoever it's going to. And then some final notes and tips. So some things to keep in mind when you're reaching out to faculty. They are busy, just like you. They've got lives and things going on outside the classroom. Be patient. They will get back to you. Reach out to multiple faculty members. Even if there's someone that you don't work with directly, you want to make sure that you're kind of creating and cultivating these relationships because they can lead to other opportunities. We already talked about this, but look beyond the campus community. What connections have you built through volunteering, through internships, through past jobs, through even through those application opportunities, fellowships that you're taking part in, other co-curricular programs that you're taking part in. you've got connections through those opportunities as well. Things not to do, things to avoid. Constant email pinging. Following up is good if you haven't heard back, but don't constantly ping them for your contact. Wait a week. If they haven't reached out to you in a week, then you can reach out, but don't like ping them the next day because they haven't had a chance to respond yet. Do not send generic emails. Always be specific in your ask and share your goals and your interests. Always make sure to proofread your email and avoid GIFs, emojis, etc., unless you know that they enjoy a good reaction GIF. If you don't know, err on the side of caution. And things to keep in mind. Oh, nope, sorry, that was a double slide. Okay, so thank you all for joining us. For more information, we've got a couple of really good guides available on our website, so definitely take a look at those. If you have questions about fellowship applications, you can email us at fellowships@georgetown.edu. If you have questions about undergrad research applications, you can email us at undergradresearch@georgetown.edu. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to stop the recording and thank you for watching the recording.